In this video, we're going to composite 3 images together to make one image. In this case, we're going to use a bunny rabbit, a table, and a top hat, and we're going to make it look like the bunny is coming out of the top hat that's sitting on the table. To start with, we're going to need to make a new document, so we're going to go up to File, and we're going to choose New. And Photoshop gives us some presets. By default, it probably says Custom and looks something like, it may say pixels and it may say 200 dots per inch, and the background contents will probably say white. But we're going to set our document up using one of the presets under Photo called Landscape Photo 5x7. This is going to make the photograph wide instead of tall, and it's going to make the width 7 inches and the height 5. If you want to do a vertical image, that's called Portrait, and under size here we have lots of options. We can choose our Landscape 5x7, we could choose a Portrait 5x7. So the options we're going to choose are Photo under Preset, and Landscape or Portrait 5x7 under size. And then we're just going to go ahead and click OK. That's going to make a new document for us. And the first thing we're going to do is get our photos. I have already been to morguefile.com, and at Morguefile I picked out some photos. So I'm just going to drag that folder right here so that I can select the bunny, the table, and the top hat. I'm going to hold down my Shift key to select all 3 of those, and then I'm just going to drag them to my paper inside Photoshop. And when I do that, it's going to place the images here. I want to make sure to check the checkbox each time one of the pictures places. And now I have all of my images set in Photoshop. The first thing I want to do is I want to rearrange these images in my Layers panel. If you can't see your Layers panel, it lives under Window, so you can choose Window Layers, and that'll pop it up for you. Your Layers panel is one of the most important panels in all of Photoshop. So I'm going to take these items, so there's my top hat and my bunny and my table, and I'm going to rearrange them so that the table is on the bottom. To rearrange it, I just click on it and drag down, and then I have my top hat and my bunny. In the Layers panel, we have a few things that are really important. We have an eyeball. This eyeball indicates that I can see what's on this layer. So if I turn it off, if I click on it, it goes away, and so does the picture of the bunny rabbit. It's still in our document, it's still there, but I can't see it. So if I want to see it, I turn it back on. The other thing that's important in our Layers panel are these options for locking. If I get, let's say, my table, I'm going to work on my table first because it's the thing that we're going to want to have at the bottom of our image, and I'm going to make it bigger. I'm going to make it bigger by choosing Show Transform Controls, and then I get these little boxes on the corner and the middle. And these are boxes that I can click and drag to make my picture bigger. And if I have this little link checked, then my image will stay proportional while I'm working on it. Proportional means that the height and the width will stay the same, so it doesn't look all stretched out. I can also just type a number in here if I want to do that. And then I'll just get it right where we want it. I think I'm going to make it about 35%. And then I'm going to click the check mark, and that's going to tell Photoshop that I'm done with my resizing. And then back to these locks. I have a lock option here that only restricts movement. So in this case, if I click this lock, it shows up here and it says it's locked, but I can't move my picture. And Photoshop will warn me, hey, you can't do that because the layer is locked. So I say okay. I have some other options. This first option will lock the transparency of the layer. So if I have a bunch of stuff on the layer but there's some places I don't have anything, this option will allow me to change the color or paint on it, just not put anything where there's not. The next option, this little paintbrush, will allow me to move something, but it'll keep me from painting on it or changing it. And the last one will lock everything about the layer, the transparency, the color, and its position, so that I cannot move that layer or alter that layer in any fashion. So what I need to do next, I have my table where I like it. So I've turned off everything. We can see I just have the table. So now I'm going to turn on the top hat, and I'm going to go down to the bottom of my layers panel and add a layer mask. A layer mask is like a window that hides or reveals part of the document. If you have a window, the light can come through, so you can see through it. When we have a white layer mask, we can see through it. We see everything on that layer. But if I were to take my paintbrush, the hotkey for your paintbrush is the letter B on your keyboard. And change this, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I have an arrow right here that allows me to make my paintbrush bigger or smaller. If I were to take black paint and paint on this layer mask, I know I'm on the layer mask because I see those photo corners that say I'm on the layer mask as opposed to the picture itself. If I'm on the layer mask and I take that black paint and paint, what happens is that it hides the area where I'm painting. It's just like if I painted out a window, I would not be able to see what was in that part of the window. So I'm painting on my layer mask, hiding parts of the picture I don't want to see, so that I can extract the top hat from our photo. Now, let's say I make a mistake and I accidentally paint out part of the hat. The beautiful thing about a layer mask is that this is not a permanent situation. All I have to do is come over to my toolbox and change my color. So I can change my color by using this little arrow or the X key on my keyboard to exchange the colors. So I can use the arrow or I can use the letter X on my keyboard. It does the same thing. And I'm going to make sure that this top color is white, and then I can paint that right back in. So this gives me the ability to make a mistake and fix it very quickly. So I'm going to play with my brush and my I'm going to switch the color because I thought I had black and I didn't. My top hat, I'm going to get it all extracted real quickly. And once I'm happy with my top hat, the next thing I need to do is get my bunny and do the exact same thing to my bunny rabbit. So I'm going to go to the bunny rabbit. If I want to make my brush larger quickly or smaller quickly, I can use the square bracket keys on my keyboard. The bracket on the right hand side will make the brush bigger, and the bracket on the left hand side will make the brush smaller. My cursor will indicate the size of my brush tip. So I'm going to paint the rest of this out real quick. And I'll probably go in and clean it up a little before we're finished with this project. The next thing I'm going to do is turn on my bunny rabbit, and I'm going to go back down to our layer mask button and make a new layer mask, and I'm going to do the same thing with our bunny. And very quickly I'm just going to click out our bunny here so that we have both our bunny and our hat extracted from our background. Now I have my bunny. I paused for just a second and cleaned these up. I have my bunny and my top hat all masked out. I've used layer masks. As you can see, the black area is where the picture does not show up, and the white area on this layer mask is where the picture does show up. And I'm going to resize these a little bit. So I'm going to hold down my shift key and I'm going to click over here beside the name of my top hat. And over here, I'm going to hold my Shift key and click on my bunny rabbit. And so now I have both of these photos selected together. And I still have my Show Transform Controls option selected, so I can just hold down my Shift key and drag these down to make them just about the right size to fit on the table. So I'm going to move them over here and put them on our table. They could probably still be a little smaller. And my next, I'm going to come over here and check the check mark so that Photoshop knows I'm happy with the size they are. And now I'm going to uncheck the Show Transform Controls option. That option kind of makes me a little nuts sometimes, but I love to have it. I'm going to use my zoom tool now so I can zoom in and see what I'm doing with this bunny and this hat. So my zoom tool is the letter Z, or this magnifying glass. And I am going to just click and draw a box around my bunny and my top hat. And when I do that, Photoshop will zoom in, so those are what I can see. And I'm going to undo that last zoom because it was a little closer than I wanted it to be. Oh my goodness. Seems that I undid a few things that I didn't mean to, so I'm going to reset. This happens sometimes in Photoshop. Command Z or Control Z is the undo command, and sometimes we get a little happy with that and we go a little too far. So I'm going to go back forward. There, my bunny and my hat are just the right size. And I'm going to, now I'm zoomed in. If I hold down my Shift key, I get what's called the Pan tool. It also happens to be this hand right here, but I find it much easier to just hold down my spacebar so that I can move that around. And I just said Shift key first. I actually meant spacebar. So you're going to hold down your spacebar so you can move this. And then I can rearrange it. Now I'm just going to grab my bunny. So I've selected my bunny in the Layers panel. I'm going to move that up. And I want to make it look like he's sitting inside this top hat. So I'm going to select my top hat again and get my black paintbrush and make it real soft and a little bit smaller. And I'm going to come in and just, I'm going to make sure I'm on the right layer. I was on my top hat. So I want to Command Z, undo that, select my bunny layer mask. Now if I select my bunny, it's not going to let me paint. So I have to make sure that those little photo corners are on the layer mask. So I'm going to select my bunny and come paint out my little bunny so that I can see the rim of the hat, and our little bunny is right there where he belongs. I'm going to move the top hat just a little bit, and I'm going to actually do the same thing to the top hat. This time though, I'm going to remove just the little corner where this chair is so it looks like it's sitting on the table. I'm going to zoom out. And now it looks like our picture is just about done. Next thing we're going to do is save it. So we're going to go File, Save, and I'm going to call it Completed Composite. Or, oh no, I'm going to call it Magic Hat. And we'll put it right here with our pictures. Magic Hat. And this is a Photoshop document, and I'm just going to go ahead and click Save. It's going to ask me if I want it to have maximum compatibility, and I do. That way I can open it on the most number of computers. And then that is all there is to our composite.